Beaufort County, and welcome once again to County Talk. I am your host, Gary Ceres. This is episode 3, The Sky is Falling. Hood Richardson has been a county commissioner for almost 30 years. One must sit back and ask, what has he really done for Beaufort County? The answer is very little. In fact, he ended up on the winning side of issues only one time in almost 30 years in office. And this was by accident. Bear with me on the finer details of this recollection. This story was shared by my sources who knew the basic details of the story. Several years ago, the U.S. Navy wanted to build what was called an outlying landing field. This was known as an OLF. This was a remote landing site where Navy jets could practice touch-and-go landings. The area that the Navy was focused on was on the northeast corner of Beaufort County. County residents were concerned that the noise of the jets on approach to this OLF were going to ruin the peacefulness of the area. Because of the noise, the value of the property in the area would collapse. When this was first presented to the Board of Commissioners, both Hood Richardson and Stan Dethridge were all for the OLF. They said that this was the sound of freedom. It was about this time that Mr. Richardson decided to run for the North Carolina State House. The district he was going to run in was this area. The county residents in this area would be voting for this position. Hood and Stan changed their position and suddenly became champions against the OLF. My sources say that this district was redrawn and the residents in the area would not be voting for Hood. It was too late for him to change his support. The story ended with Beaufort County standing up to the Navy and forcing them to change their plans. Beating the U.S. Navy isn't something Japan, Somali pirates, and the British have been able to do, but Beaufort County actually beat the U.S. Navy. Switching sides in the middle of the stream is something that Hood Richardson has a history of doing. He has switched political parties a staggering 11 times in the past. So along with being a Republican, he has been a Democrat and an independent on numerous occasions. If you don't believe me, call the Board of Elections. They can verify that for you. So let's look back at the other issues that Hood has used to excite his voting base. Years ago, Belhaven had a full-service hospital. Unfortunately, there was not enough business to justify keeping it open. Despite Hood's best efforts, the hospital closed and was torn down. Another failure. Related to the Belhaven Hospital is the medical facility that was built over in Belhaven. Hood has said it was a big mistake and that the care was lacking at best. Truth is, people from Washington have learned that they can drive over to Belhaven, get medical care, and be back home before even being seen at the Washington ER. The facility in Belhaven has been a godsend. Hood, wrong again. Speaking of hospitals, when the Beaufort County Hospital was going through changes, Hood said the hospital needed to be taken over and operated by private companies. This is what happened in Martin County, which is now closed, and in Washington County, which has been on shaky ground ever since being taken over by a private company. Thankfully, Beaufort County Hospital joined with ECU, which controls medical treatment here in the East. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm the first one to say we need to reform that hospital. It might not be perfect, though, but at least it beats being closed. Mr. Richardson must not also like public education. You see, he was against the Southside High School, even though it was being built with federal funds. He was against Northeast Elementary, which used federal funds provided after the hurricane flooded Belhaven. Stan protested Northeast location, saying it was being built in what was called Hell Swamp, while we're still waiting for the flood. Hood was against the bonds that built John Small School and P.S. Jones School. These bonds are to be paid out very soon. We have 2 modern schools from these bonds, both of which he opposed. Finally, he is against the new school at Eastern. This school is being built with lottery funds. You guessed it, Hood is against the lottery too. Moving away from schools, let me take you back to the Highway 17 bypass. Perhaps you forgot how Hood Richardson argued that the bypass should cross the river further east than the current location. This would have required the state to buy out some of the most valuable riverfront property in the county. Also, the bridge would have had to have been built with a high rise, which would have been closed during high winds and frozen precipitation. Talk about fiscal conservatism. This bridge would have been twice as long as what was eventually built. The current bypass was built over swampland and was done so that there was no environmental damage. Now Hood is on an ethics rant, citing that there is a conflict of interest between two commissioners that are also married to two duly elected school board members. Hood Richardson lecturing about ethics? Get real. So Hood is a combination of the boy who cried wolf and Chickle Niddle, who cried the sky is falling. Few things he warns us of actually happen. Hood Richardson, wasting our time and our money.